So after regulation of tone of the muscle, we will see about the regulation of postural reflexes. Postural reflex help to maintain the body in upright position and balanced position. They provide necessary adjustment to maintain a stable posture during voluntary activity. So reflex arc of postural reflexes has a afferent pathways from the eyes, also the vestibular apparatus, proprioceptors. So all these afferents from eyes, vestibular apparatus and the proprioceptors, they integrated in the centers, that is brainstem and the spinal cord, and the efferents will come via the alpha motor neurons. So the reflex arc for postural reflexes, so afferent pathways via eyes, then the vestibular apparatus that we will going to learn in the next lecture, and the proprioceptors, that is muscle spindles, Golgi tendon organs, the nerve endings and the Pacinian corpuscle. So all these proprioceptors which provide the information in the center, that is brainstem and the spinal cord, and via efferent pathways which are supplying the motor neurons, they will the effector organs. So in the diagram you can see the importance of this vestibular nucleus, that is this Dieter's nucleus. It is a vestibular nuclei and how it helps in the regulation of the posture. So the muscle tone is due to the tonic discharge of gamma motor neuron to the muscle due to predominant effect of the descending fibers of facilitatory reticular formation. Muscle tone is normally not under the tonic control of alpha motor neuron. It is important to note the tonic control of alpha motor neuron is exerted almost entirely through the vestibulospinal tract. So this is the vestibular nucleus, and through this vestibulospinal tract it is giving a efferent to alpha motor neurons, and alpha motor neuron will cause the muscle contraction. So in the diagram you can see the vestibular apparatus is there, the neck muscles, these are the muscles which are supplying the trunk. So from all these the afferents are going to the nuclei, higher center nuclei, to the vestibular apparatus, and the efferents will come on the finally on the alpha motor neuron. Also from the cortex, corticospinal tract will influence on the alpha motor neuron. So the common final pathway is alpha motor neuron which supplying the muscle to cause the contraction. So this alpha motor neuron is exerted almost entirely through the vestibular spinal pathway. So vestibular nucleus is constantly inhibited by corticospinal fibers. So from the cerebellum the fibers are going to the vestibular nuclei and it is constantly inhibited. Also the fastigiovestibular fibers from the cerebellum, they inhibit the dietary nucleus. So both cerebral cortex and the cerebellum, they inhibit the dietary nucleus of the vestibular apparatus. So under certain abnormal conditions and under experimental situation, when the vestibular nucleus get disinhibited, so there occurs exaggeration of the muscle tone, and that is leading to a alpha led rigidity rather than the gamma led rigidity, because all these are influenced on the alpha motor neuron, and via vestibulospinal tract it influences the alpha motor neuron. So that lead to the alpha led rigidity in the muscle. So this is a diagrammatic representation how the motor cortex, cerebellum, basal ganglion will influence the alpha and the gamma motor neuron. So the proprioceptors from the neck regions you can see, from the labyrinth, vestibular apparatus, they are influenced on the vestibular nuclei. From the cerebral cortex, they influence the red nucleus, Basal ganglia is giving the fibers, that is the rubral fiber from the substantia nigra to the red nucleus and from cerebellum. So all these get affected, all is giving a influence to the reticular formation. And from these higher centers we will get the different tracts, that is rubrospinal tract. They are sending the impulses to the motor neurons. Then the lateral reticulospinal tract. Then we have a medial reticulospinal tract and a lateral vestibulospinal tract. So this vestibulospinal tract mainly influence the alpha motor neuron. So there is activation of the flexors will lead to the inhibition of the extensors, you can see, and the inhibition of the flexors will lead to the activation of the extensors. So in this way, to maintain the posture in any voluntary activity, these agonist and antagonist muscles are cooperate to maintain the proper functions. So whenever there is any activity, the flexors are contracted and antagonist muscles, that extensor, are relaxed. Now we will see the types of postural reflexes. So we have two type of postural reflexes, that is static postural reflex and the statokinetic reflexes. So static reflexes are elicited by gravitational pull and involve a sustained contraction of muscle. Whereas statokinetic reflexes, these reflexes are phasic reflexes and are elicited by acceleratory displacement of the body. They maintain a stable postural background for voluntary activity. So both these type of postural reflexes are integrated at various level in the central nervous system from the spinal cord to the cerebral cortex and are affected largely by pyramidal pathways. So first we will see static reflexes. So they are involved in the adjustment of displacement produced by gravity. Static reflexes are local static reflexes, segmental static reflexes and general static reflexes. So first we will see local static reflexes. So local static reflexes control the reflex activity in the anti-gravity muscles and also control the tone of the muscle in the anti-gravity muscle. So they are taking place by positive supporting reaction, negative supporting reaction. The center for this local static reflexes is the spinal cord and these reflexes can be located in the spinal animals. So the reflex control of anti-gravity muscles. So it is a basic stretch reflex we have seen. So it controls the tone, the extensor muscles which keep the body in the upright position. So mainly in the anti-gravity muscles, this reflex activity is taking place to maintain the muscle tone. So in the decerebrate preparation, when it produces the decerebrate rigidity, the hypertonicity in the decerebrate preparation has the characteristics of the extensor distribution. So whenever there is a decerebrate preparation, then the transaction is taking place to cut the brainstem and its cortical areas and the basal ganglions. We will get the rigidity in the extensor muscles of the body. Now positive supporting reaction. So positive supporting reflex or reaction is characterized by the simultaneous reflex contraction of both extensors and the flexors of the limbs. So both the protagonistic and the antagonistic muscle and converting into the solid rigid pillar. So positive supporting reaction plays an important role in steadying the ankle joint in a standing position. The stabilization of the ankle joint in an intermediate position is possible by simultaneous contraction of extensor and the flexors of a foot, and that lead to the positive supporting reaction. The negative supporting reaction, so it is also an active phenomena initiated by stretch of the extensor muscle. So this help in the limbs to be used for activities other than the supporting body weight. The center for of this static reflexes is a spinal cord. So in the diagram you can see the positive supporting reaction. So role of positive supporting reaction in the stabilization of the ankle joint. So in the diagram A you can see both the agonist and antagonist muscles are get contracted and they form a solid pair to maintain the erect posture. In the diagram B, there is a dorsiflexion at the foot produces the forward fall. So that is due to the contraction of tibialis muscle. And in the diagram C, there is a plantar flexion at the foot that produces the backward fall, and it is due to contraction of gastrocnemius muscles. So at the ankle joint, the dorsiflexion and the plantar flexion are possible, but neither of them is desirable during standing position. So dorsiflexion of the foot would tie the body forward, while plantar flexion would throw the body backward. So the stabilization of the ankle joint is possible by simultaneous contraction of the extensor and the flexors of the foot, and they causing the positive supporting reaction. So the afferent impulses are from the stimulated skin of a sole, and the muscles proprioceptors causes the reflex contraction of both flexor and extensor muscles acting on the ankle joint and converting the leg and the ankle joint into a solid pillar. So it is positive supporting reaction. Now the second reflexes in the static reflexes are segmental static reflexes. The segmental static reflexes are characterized by a bilateral reflex response when stimulus is applied to one limb. The best example of segmental static reflex is cross extensor reflex response component of withdrawal reflex. So in this reflex, the strong stimulation to one limb will produce the flexion in the ipsilateral limb and extension of the contralateral limb, and it is called as cross extensor limb. So it is play an important role in the walking, and the center for this reflex is spinal cord. So in the lower limb, this reflex allows the one limb to support of the body while the other is raised off the ground. So this is the withdrawal reflex. You can see. So any painful stimulus is going to the spinal cord via dorsal root ganglion. So that will causing the excitation or flexor muscles is contracted in the same limb and extensor muscles are inhibited on the another limb. At the same time, when the afferents are going to the spinal cord, the collaterals are cross the spinal cord in the midline and they going to the opposite horn cells where they synapses with the inhibitory interneurons. So they are in the opposite limb, they are causing the inhibition of the flexors and the excitation of the extensor muscles. So that is called as a cross extensor reflex. So during walking it is very important. So the one side of the flexor are active and extensor are inhibited, while the reverse takes place on the other side. The center for this reflex is spinal cord, and this can be best demonstrated in spinal animals. Whenever there is a transaction of the spinal cord, we can demonstrate this reflex. This is cross extensor reflex. The third reflexes in the static reflexes are general static reflex. So general static reflex are characterized by a generalized effect from many muscle groups in the body in response to a stimulus that arise at one side of the body. So numerous postural adjustment occurs in response to change in the head position. So general static reflexes can be divided into the attitudinal or a statotonic reflex. So, statotonic reflexes known as attitudinal reflex, they are initiated when the attitude of the body is changed. So, while standing or an inclined plane, these reflexes will occur, and these are of two types, that is tonic labyrinthine reflex and tonic neck reflex. Then also in the general static reflex, we have a long loop stretch reflex and writing reflexes. So, first we will see the attitudinal reflex. So, they divide it as a tonic labyrinthine reflex and tonic neck reflex. So, tonic labyrinthine reflex, these reflexes are produced in response to alteration in the position of a head relation to the horizontal plane. So, for example, when standing on an inclined plane, these reflexes decreases or increases the tone of skeletal muscle of the limb in response to the attitude of the head. So, stimulus for the labyrinthine reflex is a gravity. So, receptors for these reflexes, the otolith organ present in the labyrinthine apparatus. Afferents from this otolith organ, they will travel along the vestibular nerve. Center that is present, that is vestibular and reticular nuclei in the medulla oblongata, and efferents are the vestibulospinal and reticulospinal tracts end on alpha motor neuron of the spinal cord. So, this reflex response is particularly effective in the extensor muscles. The impulses from the labyrinthine exert the same effect on all four limbs. So, in the diagram you can see the reflex response of tonic labyrinthine reflex. So, when the head is tilted to the right side, so this quadruped is stand in the inclined position, you can see when the head is tilted to the right side. So, what is the response here? The tilting of the head to the right stimulates the labyrinthine, that is the vestibular apparatus, and evoke the tonic labyrinthine reflex, and this reflex causes flexion of the left limb, you can see here, and the extension of right limb. So, tilting of the head to the right side will lead to flexion of the left limb and extension of right limb. When the quadruped stands in the inclined plane in such a way that the head is tilted backward, the head is tilted backward. So, what is the response? So, tonic labyrinthine reflexes causes the reflex flexion of the forelimb, there is a flexion of the forelimb and extension of the hind limb. So, this response you will get due to the tonic labyrinthine reflexes, and they will try to maintain the posture on the inclined position also. So, this is the tonic labyrinthine reflex. Now, it is tonic neck reflex. So, they are produced in response to alteration in position of a head relative to the body. The stimulus is the stretch of neck reflexes, neck muscles. Receptor are Pacinian corpuscles and the muscle spindles. Center for tonic neck reflexes, that is medulla oblongata, and the efferents are corticospinal tract. So, these reflexes are produced in response to alteration in the position of head relative to the body. So, when the neck is flexed forward, that is a ventroflexion, the turning down of the head, causing turning down of the head will cause a forelimb is get flexed and the hind limbs they get extended, whereas dorsiflexion will cause the extension of the forelimb and the flexion of the hind limb. So, opposite to that, if the neck is flexed or there is a turning up of the neck or dorsiflexion will causing the extension of the forelimb and the flexion of the hind limb. Now, if the neck is turning on the side way, the turning of the head side way towards the right side or a left side, they produces the flexion of ipsilateral. So, neck is flexed to the left side. So, limb is get flexed on the left side and the right sided limb is get extended. So, if the neck will flex at the right side, so right sided limb will get flexed and the left sided limb will get extended. So, that is a turning of the head sideway. So, when you are turn the head on the particular side, so the limbs on that particular side will get flexed and the other side limb will get extended. Now, what is the combined response of this tonic neck and the labyrinthine reflexes? So, on dorsiflexion of the head, there is the extension of forelimb and the little change in the hind limb, whereas on the ventroflexion, there is a flexion of the forelimbs and the little change in the hind limb. In quadruped animals, these reflexes occurs when standing or an inclined plane. In man, tonic labyrinthine reflex is active during erect posture. So, you can see the dorsiflexion will causing the extension of all these four limbs, and this the dorsiflexion. The head is tilted or in the forward direction will causing the flexion of all the four limbs. So, these tonic labyrinthine reflexes you can see in the babies, that is a prawn reflex. So, forward bending of the head will lead to the flexion of all the four limbs. So, loop, that is a long loop stretch reflexes. So, these reflexes are continuously acting in erect posture and bring about the continuous correction of sways that occur from moment to moment during standing. So, this long loop stretch reflex is polysynaptic reflex with their reflex arc centered in the cerebral cortex. These reflexes are continuously active in erect posture and the continuous correction of the posture will taking place from moment to moment. So, for example, when the body sways forward, so proprioceptive and the visual impulses will try to correct the body in the erect posture. The body of the human being behaves like an inverted pendulum hinged at the ankle joint. So, when the body sways forward, this occurs a stretching of the gastrocnemius muscle. This initiates a monosynaptic stretch reflex as well as long loop polysynaptic reflex, which brings about the reflex contraction in the gastrocnemius muscle, resulting in correction of a forward sways. Also, the visual inputs which suggest that the body is swaying and also initiate this long loop postural reflex. The two long loop postural reflexes, that is one proprioceptive and the other is the visual. So, they ensures the body is not thrown off balance when tipped over its center of gravity. The importance of these two reflexes can be realized in a patient with lesion of dorsal column such as tabes dorsalis. So, it will get the sensory ataxia. So, the Romberg sign is a pathognomic of the sensory ataxia and help to differentiate it from cerebral ataxia in which the sign is absent. So, this Romberg sign is present in the sensory ataxia. So, all the proprioceptive and the visual impulses will not reach and the patient is not able to stand erect with the closed eyes. Now, the writing reflexes. So, writing reflexes help to correct the position of a body when it goes off balance and fall down. You can see this Writing reflexes, they are absent in the decerebrate animals. Writing reflexes consist of a chain of reactions following one another in an orderly sequence. So, in writing reflexes, we have a head writing, then the body writing, then neck writing, body on body writing, limb writing, and optical writing reflexes. Center for this writing reflexes is a red nucleus. So, the rubrospinal and the rubroreticular tract influence the motor neurons, and also the visual cortex for optical writing reflex. So, the head writing reflex is called as a labyrinthine writing reflex, is initiated when the head is in the lateral position. This impulse arising from the saculi reflexly stimulate the appropriate muscles to bring the head back to the upright position. Head writing reflex. So, the labyrinthine organs is a reflex activity, stimulus is a gravity, receptor is a head kept level, and the receptors are otolith organs. Neck writing reflex or a neck on body writing reflex. So, stretch, the stimulus is stretch of the neck muscles, receptors are a writing of a thorax, of a shoulder and then pelvis, and the receptors are muscle spindles. So, response is writing of the thorax, shoulders and then the pelvis. The body writing reflexes or body on head writing reflexes, when the animal lies on the ground, side in contact with the ground is constantly stimulated while the other side is not. So, differential stimulation of the deep structure in the body will reflexly right the head. The head can thus the righten even after bilateral labyrinthectomy. So, we have a head writing reflex, then the body writing reflex, that is body on head writing reflex, and the neck writing reflex. Now, the body on body writing reflex. So, when the body is lying on the ground and the writing of the head is prevented, the differential stimulation of body surfaces provide the necessary cues for writing the body directly. This is called as body on body writing reflex. So, the stimulus for body on body writing reflex is pressure on side of body, response is writing of a head, and the receptors are exteroceptors. So, for body on body, the stimulus is pressure on side of body, response is writing of the body even though the head held down, the receptors are exteroceptors. The limb writing reflex is also there. So, impulses arising from the limb muscle are responsible for attainment of appropriate posture of the limbs. Then the optical writing reflex, optical impulses also cause writing of a head. This has been confirmed by the fact that the animal with the visual cortex intact. So, writing of a head can take place with the eyes open and even after denervation of labyrinth and the neck muscle. These writing reflexes can be elicited. So, in human being, optical writing reflex are far more important than the labyrinthine writing reflex. So, in the diagram you can see the head and body writing reflex. So, in the small babies you can see the duration for this postural reflexes head and body writing reflex is 1 to 6 months for a head. Then the body writing reflexes will appear from 5 months to 1 year. So, the supine position, if the baby turns body in either direction, so the head rights itself with the body. Supine, the turn heads in either direction, body rights itself with the head. So, you can see the body is turning to the side, the head will also turn, and this is helpful for the voluntary rolling mechanism. So, that is about the static reflexes. So, in the static reflexes we have three type of reflexes, that is local static reflexes. So, they help to maintain the tone in the anti-gravity muscles via the positive supporting reaction, negative supporting reaction. Then we have a segmental static reflexes. Here there is a cross extensor reflex which will help to maintain the body posture during walking reaction. Then third is the general static reflexes. So, in general static reflexes we have attitudinal or the statotonic reflexes, long loop stretch reflex and writing reflex.